All right, the next form we're going to talk about is standard form. So standard form is written as ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c must be integers, right? So they can't be fractions, can't be decimals. They have to be integers. A is a little more specific. It cannot be negative. So a actually has to be a whole number. It can't be a negative number. So b and c can be an integer. A has to be greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. And then number 3 says a and b cannot both be 0. So a can be 0 as long as b isn't, or b can be 0 as long as a isn't, but they both can't be 0 at the same time. Okay. All right. So let's look at some examples. So 34, we want to write each equation in standard form using only integers. Okay. So which, once again, that was already designated as being part of the definition of standard form. So what I want to do is first get x and y on the same side, but remember, we want the value in front of x. We want the a value to be positive, right? So this is standard form, ax plus b, y equals c, and we want a to be positive. And so the first thing I'm going to do with 34 is I want to identify where is the x value going to be positive. It's going to be positive on the right. So I want to keep the x term on the right, and I want a and b to be on the same side, or the x and the y to be on the same side. So what I want to do is I want to get the y over to the same side as the x, right? And then I want my number that doesn't have a variable, my constant, I want that to be on the other side. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Okay. So the 5 goes away, the y goes away there. So what I end up is 5 equals 3x minus y, right? And then I'm just going to flip it around just to make it look exactly like what we have, right? So ax plus by equals c. So the a in this case is 3, the b is -1, and the c is 5. All right, and that's standard form. All right. So for 35, we want to get this to be standard form as well. So remember, standard form has to be integers, so we can't have fractions. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply everything by the common denominator, the least common denominator, just to get rid of the fractions, right? So I'm going to multiply each term by 2. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times a half is 1, right? So it's just going to be 1x. 2 times 3 is 6. So I multiply 2 by each term here, right? 2 times y, 2 times 1/2 x, and 2 times +3. So now I'm going to do a similar thing that I did in the last one. I'm going to get, I noticed that x is positive on the right, so I'm going to get my y to the side where x is going to be positive. I'm going to get my number on the other side. Okay. And so we end up with -6 equals x minus 2y. And then I'll just flip that around, so it's x minus 2y equals -6. All right, that's standard form. A is positive, +1. B is an integer, C is an integer. So we're in good shape. All right, here are a couple more. So for 38, I have a couple denominators here, 5 and 3. So the least common denominator is 15. So I'm going to multiply each term by 15. So what I'll get is 15y. Here, the 15 and the 5 reduce to 3 over 1. So 3 times 4 is 12x. And then here, 15 over 3 is 5, so 5 times 2 is 10. All right, and then I see that 12x is positive on the right, so I want to subtract 15y from both sides. And I'm also going to subtract 10 from both sides. So I get -10 equals 12x minus 15y. And I'm just going to flip it around to We get our x and the y on the left and our constant on the right. And that's our answer in standard form. 41. Similar idea, we can multiply by the denominator, by the common denominator, which is 5. So we end up with 3x plus 30 equals 0 times 5 is 0. So this time we don't have a y, right? So that means b is going to be 0. But that's okay, we're just going to we want x to be positive. It's positive on the left, so I'm just going to move the number to the other side. So it'll be 3x equals negative 30. Alright? And technically, right, it's 3x plus 0y equals negative 30. So b is 0 like we said. Alright, two more with standard form. So 46, another one with fractions, so we want to find our least common denominator. So in this case it would be 40. So multiply each term by 40. 40 divided by 8 is 5, so it turns into 5x equals, and then 40 divided by 5 is 8. So 8 multiplied by negative 4y is negative 32y. And we want to get x and y on the same side, but we want to get them on the side where x is positive. So x is positive on the left. So we can just add 32y to both sides. Now you may be wondering what happens to the other side of the equation. Because it kind of went away, right? But remember, there's always two sides to an equation. So when things cancel out like that, when you're adding or subtracting, you get the additive identity, which is 0, right? And so that's our standard form. So a is 5, b is 32, c is 0, right? Those are all integers. A is positive, so that's good. All right, so 47. So here, when we have decimals, we can multiply by whatever we need to get rid of the decimals, right? So here I have a tenth, so I'd multiply by 10 to get rid of that, but here I have a hundredth. And so we'll just multiply everything by 100, and that'll get rid of all the decimals. So I'll get 100y equals 2x plus 50. Okay, and x is going to be positive on the right in this case, so I'm going to keep x there, move the y over, and I'll move the number to the other side. So I get negative 50 equals positive 2x minus 100y, and then we'll just flip it around. And there we go.